Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to understand about aggregation binding. So what is aggregation binding? Aggregation binding requires the definition of a template, which is cloned for each bound entry of the list. For each clone that is created, the binding context is set to the respective list entry so that all bindings of the template are resolved relatively to the entry. Now, this might seem a little complex, but I can simplify for you. The mean is if we have a list, there should be a template. So list is a template, and inside list we have the items, and we have the items like standard list item. Right now we have three standard list items where we are loading the details of the MasterCard, Visa card, and the another MasterCard, and we are providing different states like active and expired. What if we have 500? I mean, cards cannot be 500, but what we have 500 records. So in that case, it is difficult to do the hard coding for each one of them. And that's the reason we are using the aggregation binding, where the relevant record would automatically, the aggregation would be created. Like once we will declare the standard list item, and it will automatically create the aggregation of the standard list item based on the data received. Let me show you how. Now what we will do in our use case, we will comment out the last two standard list item because now we need only single list item, but this single list item would load all the data. And we have our data model, which is JSON model. And here we have to create the entries. So account details is there. After account details, I will create one more object, which is named as card details. Inside card details, I'll create an array. As I told you that we can create multiple array and object inside an object inside a data model. And in the card details, I will create different fields. Right now, we have the MasterCard and the Visa card. So I can say the card company could be one, and I can say that it is a MasterCard. Then I can, sorry, this should be the string. Now, the another entry I can create is the, okay, this should be an object. So we will create three different objects because we want to display three cards. If we want to display 10 cards, we'll create 10 different objects. So one is the one entry could be card company, the another could be the card type, and then I can write card type is the credit card. In the similar way, I will create three different entries of the card, the one object, another object, and this is the third object because we want to display three different cards, right? So I have created the JSON data for these cards and I'm copy pasting them here, and then I will explain it one by one. Okay, so this is a card details. We have the card type, we have card number, we have card company, we have assignment date, we have state. Similar way, we have three different objects inside the card detail array. And why we are choosing array? It's because we want to create the aggregation. So based on the array, the number of objects inside this array, it will automatically aggregate the control. So right now we have the standard list item. So what I will do, I'll put the binding syntax. If I can recall that my JSON model name is obank details. So I'll start it by obank details and I'll put the properties one by one. So this is the card details array. So array we will put inside the items, the binding syntax, curly braces, obank details greater than equal to my array name, which is card details, which is inside my data model. So I'm keeping it as card details. Now in the title, I'll display the same title. Later with aggregation binding, sorry, with the expression binding, we will do the actual changes. But right now I'm displaying the title. So in title, I want to display the card details and the card type I want to display. Sorry, the card company I want to display. So I will go here and I will say that O bank, since it is a named model, O bank details greater than the card is. I mean, greater than is not a condition. It is just a binding symbol that I'm using, and I'm calling it as greater than because it is easy to remember. So I'm displaying the card company name. Now, if we will run the application, you will see the standard list item added only once, but when we load the card details, you see all three should be visible here. But right now the card details, O bank. Okay, this is because the small b I have used. The correct name I have to use O bank details because our model name is O bank details. Now it should display. Since we were using three different hard coded standard list item, now I have only single list item, but still it will display the all three, and the Mastercard is visible. Mastercard, Mastercard, Mastercard. So why three time it is coming? It is coming because we have three different objects inside the card details array, right? So when we receive the data from server and assume we have 5,000 array inside this, so the 5,000 standard list item would be created here automatically. We will do the binding once. So this is what the aggregation binding is. Now let me create the another binding sentence, which is O bank details greater than. Now instead of card company, I will put the card number here. That should be visible. Now I have put the card number here. In description, I want to display the card type. So I can say that display the card type here. And I can say that O bank. Here also we are using the relative binding path. We are not using absolute binding path because here we have declared the card details. Since it's a named model, we are using this syntax, and the actual syntax is this one. And based on whatever is there inside the card details, we are directly putting it. But since it's a model, named model, that's why we are using this syntax. So O bank details is greater than the card type. Greater than is not a condition. So I have put the card type here. After card type, I want to add that string. So I'll do the copy paste, and this assignment date I want to display here. So I'll keep it as assignment date, and it will be bank details. I'll put it before and greater than symbol. So ideally, it should display the card company, card assignment date, card type. Everything should be displayed now. So let me see how it is visible, how it looks now. Okay, card details is getting loaded. Debit card is coming, Mastercard is coming, and these states we have to change right now. Everything is active, so that will change because it is declared as hard-coded value. We have to change it, and we have to change it based on the state type, right? So to do that, we have to use the different form of binding, which is called aggregation binding. So right now, what we were understanding, that was aggregation binding. Sorry, that is expression binding. Right now, we are understanding aggregation binding. This is what aggregation means. We have declared different objects inside the card details array, and all three are getting loaded. And in the UI level, we have declared the standard list item only once, but still we can see the three different items. This is the aggregation binding. It has automatically created the control based on the data. So since in OBank details, card details, there are three different objects like this, that's why it is coming three times. If there are 10 different objects, it will come 10 times. Now let me show you what is expression binding. Expression binding is extremely useful in UI5 application development, because using expression binding, we can fix the issues like this. Mastercard is coming as lowercase, the debit card is coming as lowercase, and the active. So what should be the deciding factor for this active and non-active? So right now we have the state, and state has a value called false, true, true. So if the state is true, that means the card is active. If the state is false, that means the card is expired. So I'll copy this state, and I'll put aggregation binding for the info. I want to display active or expired, right? So what I will do, I'll remove this, put the binding syntax, and now here I will put equal to dollar sign, then curly braces, then my O bank details is greater than sign, and I'll put my state. So till here it will get the state. Now I'll put the condition, and I will say that if state till here it is getting the state true or false. If I say if it is equal to true, I'll put a ternary operator to segregate. Okay, let me put it in a separate line so it would be easy for you to understand. Now I'll put the condition, and I will say that if it is true, I want the info value as active. Okay, here we can put the small this one apostrophe comma apostrophe, and then segregated. Sorry, then put a colon, and you can put if the state is true, it should be active. If it is not true, the if and else condition, it is kind of. If it is not true, then keep it the value, the information value, keep it as expired. expired. Now what will happen? It will check. This is the eg- expression binding where we are reading the state value, and right now for the first, the state is true, so it will come, this condition is true. If the whole condition is true, it will display the first name active. If this whole condition is false, then it will display the expired. So for our case, state is true. So till here, the value is true. True is equal to true. So this whole condition is getting true. It means it will display the active for the first item. In the same way, the another item, it will read for the other data. It will read the other state. Second item, it is coming as false. So for second item, it will display as expired. And for the third item, it will again check whether the state is true or false. If it is true, it will display active. If it is false, it will display expired. Let's see. Open the card details. Right now, it is not reading it correctly, and I tell you what's the reason. The reason is O bank details we have put O bank details. We have put slash, sorry, we have put the greater than symbol, and then we have put state, S-T-A-T-E, state, which is true. We have put the ternary operator, colon we have put. So if you will notice, it has changed the text. For first it is active, for another it is expired, for third one it is active, right? This is for text. Now we have to change the color of these background also. For active, it should display the success color, green color. For expired, it should display the red color. And for this, there is another thing called info state. So for info state, I'll put the same condition. I'll copy paste the same condition. But one change I will do, instead of this putting the value as active and expired, because here we wanted to display the active, we wanted to display the expired, but here we want the particular value. So earlier we were using the values for the info state like error and success, right? So I'll change the condition. I'll not change the condition, I'll change the value. I'll put that if this condition is true, then it should be success. If it is not true, then it should be error. Now, if we will run the application, you will notice that it will be changed based on the state value. It will display the color as success. It will display the color as error. Let me run the application. And this is what it is. It has changed. It is taking the text based on the condition. It is taking the color based on the condition. Now we have to change this color as well. On the left hand side, there is a highlighter color. So where is the highlight property? It is right now, it is information for all. That's why it is coming as blue. I'll put the same condition. We don't have to do anything. Just copy paste the same condition. And based on this, the condition is true because we want to display success if the condition is true. We want to display error if condition is false. So eventually what will happen? It will work the same way. So let the application run, open the card details. You see the highlighter color is also changed based on the condition. So what is the condition? Condition is coming from this state. If it is false, it is checking the value of this state. And based on this value, it is comparing it with this hard-coded value true and false. And based on this, it is changing the text. Based on this, it is changing the color. Success and error. Success means green, error means red. So right now, our card details are getting loaded, but still there is some problem that I can see is that MasterCard is coming as lowercase and debit card is also coming as lowercase. And our easy way to fix it is that we change the data in our JSON model. We can put it as debit card in all capital. But generally, whenever we receive a data from the server, we don't receive in the perfect way as the way we want. We have to make it perfect based on our UI skills. So that expression binding, again, we can use. Since I know that all the data which is coming as small case, I want to convert it in the uppercase. And to do that, again, I have to put my the expression binding syntax. So let me remove these two because this is not required anymore. Single standard list item would work fine. So now we have to do in the title, the card company. Card company is the property which is coming as the card company, which is coming as MasterCard. I want to make it the uppercase. So I have to put the same conditions again, similar kind of condition. I'll put a curly braces equal to dollar sign. Now here we are getting the details and the card company. So after this, what I can do is I can put a dot and I can directly put the standard method to the JavaScript standard method to uppercase. And I can put the parenthesis and I can close this. So here the curly braces starts. Here it is getting end. What is there after that will keep as it is. What it will do, it will take the value of card company. It will convert it into uppercase, right? If you will notice, the application would run. And if you will notice, the value is converted into the uppercase. This is what we wanted, correct? Now, in the similar way, we can also change the credit card, debit card, the card type. So for this also in the description, I'll put curly braces equal to dollar sign. Now the condition is as it is, dot to upper case, and then close the curly braces. Now it will convert this as well. If you want to display the card number in the parenthesis, you can put the parenthesis, you can put this value inside the parenthesis, and it would work absolutely fine. And only thing it will do is that the parenthesis would be visible on the UI screen. So let me run the application again, and you'll see the parentheses are coming. Debit card is converted into the uppercase, MasterCard converted into the uppercase. Now it is looking much more efficient, which is absolutely good. And if you want to display anything, you can do that. You can put this into parentheses if you want parentheses coming for all three. So this is what our expression binding is, and this is the you can put condition, if else condition in the expression binding. There are more complex binding if you want to do. This is also an example of the complex binding where we are using the standard JavaScript method to uppercase on the XML level, which is significant. This is the power of the expression binding is. Now, one thing I want to do is that here I'm displaying the bank details fragment. Here I have a panel where I have the cards, but I do not have a dedicated fragment for the card details. And I think it is the right time that we make our app view a little cleaner and we put this panel, the complete panel, inside a new fragment. And to do that, what I will do, I'll create a fragment. I'll click on the fragment and I'll create a new file and I'll give it a name as card details dot fragment dot xml, right? And so the card details fragment is available, and I'll copy the initial code, the fragment definition from the bank details fragment. I can copy and I can paste it in the card details, and I can copy the closing tag of the fragment definition because we have to put everything inside the fragment definition. I'll put the fragment definition. Now fragment is declared, fragment is clear, sorry, not declared, it is created. Now I will remove this panel code from here. It is no longer required here. So I'll remove this and I will put the card details here. So the code I have kept it here. This is our title. Let me put it in this way so you can see whatever the changes we have done. This is we'll keep the icon same because there is no dedicated icon for credit card and debit card. We can't differentiate. So icon should be same. But the value that we are displaying, like info state, these things, like title, description, these things should be changed. Now, if we will load the application, we will not see the car details fragment. And the reason you should be knowing this, the reason is we haven't declared the fragment here. So what I will do, I will copy paste the existing fragment declaration, right? And I'll paste it here and I'll just change the fragment name. So for a newly declared fragment is card details. That's it. And I can change this ID as well because we can't put the same ID for two different fragments. And I can put a comment here that this is a card details fragment. This is a card details fragment. And I can put it, I can comment it using control/. Now it got commented. Now, if you will notice, our app view is much more cleaner. I mean, there are hardly 20 lines of code, and I think the actual code is just 5 to 6 lines, or maybe we can say the 4 lines of code in our actual XML. But everything related to is inside the fragment. We have a fragment for car details. We have a fragment for bank details. We have a fragment for more bank details, right? There is another one more fragment is there. So we have, if we create the UI in the form of fragments, it is much more easy to maintain the code, because anytime you can come and you can figure it out which fragment it is, and you can go to the respected fragment and fix the issue. Now the car details are coming, right? Now what is the initial UI which I displayed you is that we have something called the avatar, and in this avatar I want to display the data. I want to display an image, but before doing that I want to show you what is the global declaration of the JSON model. What is the global declaration of the JSON model? Because right now our JSON model data and the JSON model itself is loading inside the onInit function, which is not a standard practice. So we have to create a different file where we can keep all this data, and then we can use a name model as it is. So that is the global declaration of the JSON model. And right now we have declared it on the controller level, but as per the standard practice, we should declare the model on global level. And to do that, what I will do, I'll go to my model file, I mean the model folder, and inside model folder, I will create a new file, and I will give it a name as bank details.json, because we have all the bank details inside it. So I'll give it a name bank details.json. Now I have my JSON file created. What I will do, I will remove my code, not the date or data one, only the objects that is inside it, right? I will remove this, right? So it was in this data was inside an object. So what I will do in the bank details.json, I will first create an object, and I will paste my whole code inside this object, right? Now it is this showing us the error. It is because when we put everything inside JSON file, till it is in controller, it is fine. It will work absolutely well. But if it is inside the JSON, we have to make the key also string. We have to put everything in string. Okay, for now I have converted all the values into a string, right? I just paused the video and converted all of them. You have to do the same. Now our data is inside the bank details.json file. Let me format this document so it will look much more nicer. Now we have the car details, all the data is there, right? Now, since we have removed the data from the controller level, so this model and whatever we have declared here, I mean, the code is correct, but there is no data now, right? So our application won't load any data. If you can notice, there is no data displayed, right? It is because the data is inside the JSON file, and we have to declare this file in our manifest. We have to declare the global model. So that is what global level declaration of the model is. So I will remove this OData part, which is no longer required. And for now, I'm commenting this code also, control slash, because it is not required now. And later I will display what to do here. Now I will go to my manifest file where I want to declare my global level model. So I'll open my manifest.json file. Along with it, I want to show you that our bank details.json file is inside the model folder, model, right? So in the data source object, this is again a object file. If you can notice, same like JSON file. JSON file is always about the objects, right? Different objects. So in the data source object here, I'm going to create just about the main services. I'm going to create the JSON, give the path of the JSON file. And to do that, if you can see my screen, there is another screen I have open from where I can actually, so I'll create a JSON model, one URI and the type, right? So what I will do, I'll create JSON model as a string value. Now this JSON model has two different properties. The one is URI. Again, everything would be inside the string URI, and URI I can give model slash, because my file is inside the model slash bank details.json, bank details.json, right? So one is this one, and the another one we have to provide the type of this model. So the type, as we know, it is type is JSON. So this is correct. I mean, I have to put the apostrophe. This is the type. So my JSON model is declared. Here I have to put a comma because all the objects are separated from comma inside the object that you have seen when we created the JSON file. And it is asking me to disconnect. Okay, that's not a problem. JSON model is created. Now what I will do after the JSON model, I'll create the reference of this file, reference of the JSON model. And to create the reference, I have to go below. There is a models object is there. Inside that, we earlier declared the IATN model. So just after my French IATN underscore ES model, I will create the model reference here. And since we have earlier we gave the name of our model is O bank details. So we will keep the same name. So we don't have to change anything on the XML level, right? And now in this bank details, I have to put two things, the type of the model and the data source, right? So the type of the model is sap.ui.model.json.json model. This is the type of the model which I have. Right, this is declaration type. There we were declaring like new sap.ui.model.json.json model. Here we are declaring without new. One is type, and the another reference that we have to give is the data source. There's a standard thing that we have to use. In the data source, you give the name of your model declaration. So here I gave JSON model, then it will read this particular bank details.json file. So this JSON model I copy and I go here and I paste it, right? So here I have to give a reference, right? This is sufficient. And since it is also a new object, after this, there is another object. So I'll put a comma because objects are always comma separated inside a object, or any value inside the object is comma separated. So two things we did here that you can remember easily. We have created a reference, and the reference of what? The reference of a JSON global declaration where we are providing the path of our file, right? So it will be able to read it. Now, if you will notice, still after the global declaration, the data is not coming in our application. And the reason is we haven't created a reference in the controller file. So the data is there on the global level, it is available. If I can quickly show you in the console level, if I can put a breakpoint is already there, so it will automatically trigger. Once the breakpoint would trigger, I would show you where is that newly created data. So let me check. I think the breakpoint is not there. Okay, breakpoint got trigger. Okay, the breakpoint got trigger, right? So on console level, I'll clear the console. I'll remove this. So I can write this dot get honor component dot get model, right? So inside the model, I'll provide the model name. And where is the model name? So from now onwards, this is the declaration and this is the reference. So whatever we'll mention here, this would be a model name. So we intentionally gave the name as OBank details. It's because earlier for our XML, we have given the same name. Earlier we gave the same name. So we don't have to make any change in the XML level. So if I will pass the model name here, one moment, I have to provide a string value. So my model is not getting triggered. So I have to check why it's not happening. 1 minute, I clear the console. Okay, so probably it is not getting because we haven't refreshed the whole application. So I tell you why it is not coming. And the reason is we have made the changes in the manifest file. And since we are running our application locally, so whenever we make any change in the manifest, and if we want to get it reflected on the UI, we have to make sure that we rerun the application, because this time the index file has to be run again to incorporate the changes of manifest. So for our case, I'll close the application and I'll rerun the application. For this one, I'll remove this terminal, and in the new terminal, which is control backtick, in the new terminal, I will rerun the application. So I can write cd my bank underscore details. This is the application name, npm run start, and our application would be running just in a moment. I can open the developer tools, so I can stop the code execution and can display that this time the OBank details would be there. Okay, I think there is no breakpoint which got triggered. I can refresh the app once again, and probably it should trigger now. Okay, so the breakpoint is getting triggered. Okay, so this breakpoint is not required. We actually need another breakpoint, which is inside this. Yes, correct. Now I'll go to my console. Inside the app controller, we wanted it to stop, and I can write this dot get owner component dot get model. So I89 is also a global level model. So this dot get owner component dot get model, and I can pass the model name O bank details, and you see, okay, I think there is some problem with the name. Maybe I can make sure the name is correct. So I can copy paste O bank details. Well, it is undefined. Okay, I have find out it is undefined because here I have given JSON as small case, but here JSON should be the capital case. If you can see our initially declared declaration in the model declaration, if you see the JSON is actually in the uppercase, and by mistake I gave the JSON as lowercase here. So now this time when application would run, I can bet that it will definitely run. Again, we are checking it, but since it's a manifest level change that we have made, so we have to rerun the application again. Okay, I'm really sorry for this, but it would take just 1 second, and we'll rerun the application again. Cd my bank underscore details, and I can say npm run start. Just in a fraction of seconds it would be available, and we can test it. So I can open the developer tools, and I can directly move to console. I can clear the console. Now this one breakpoint I have to skip. This one breakpoint. This is not okay. Here it is. Okay, I have actually removed the breakpoint by mistake. So it will let the breakpoint get triggered, so I can display. Okay. Okay. So I can now the breakpoint will trigger again at the point where we want. Now the breakpoint got triggered. UI. Okay. Now I'll go to the console. I'll clear the console, and now our model is available for bank details. Inside the model, we have all the data that we wanted. In the O data, if you will go, you will see the account details. So in this format, you would actually get the data all the time. So in account details, we have the address, the customer ID, IFS code, name, and then we have the credentials. Credentials as three is it's an array. Inside this array, we have these data. So we have only created this, but I'm displaying it just to make sure that whenever you receive any data from server, you first check it. What is the structure of the data? If it is JSON data, right, the structure is JSON. So binding would be same. You can create a named JSON model. You can put all the data inside the model, right? You can read this data. You can get this data, you can check for the properties, name of the properties, what is the value coming, everything you can check on the console level before making any changes on the UI or any change in the control. Now with the same method, if I can clear this, same method, if you put dot get data, as initially I told you that we can apply different kind of methods to on the JSON model. So we are getting the data directly, right? And if I want to only read the car details, this is a property in this. If I want to read this, I can put get data dot get property, get property, and I can put the property name, and I can put it inside the apostrophe. Okay, there is some problem I think I have done is let me check it. Okay, get property, not get data. Oh, bank data. Okay, so we have to remove the get data and we can actually read the property directly. Mhm. There is some problem I can guess. Okay, so we have to put the absolute binding path here as well to read the property. And now we are getting the property. Car types, car details. If I want to read only a specific property, I want to see what is there inside the car details. So this JSON model file we have created, and that's the reason it is coming up here. And whenever we receive the data from server in the same format, and we can make the changes. Now if I will run it, so this we have to specify it on the controller level, and on controller level we have to put some. So right now it is coming directly because the global level declaration is done, or maybe for some reason it is coming. Maybe I have to check what is there on the controller file if we have put anything. Let me check the controller file. There is no data that is there, but it is coming automatically directly. We don't have to specify it in the, because the globally it is declared, and that's the reason it is coming just fine. So we don't have to specify it in the controller level. So I remove this code, and okay, debugger was there. So now our code would be same as it is as it was earlier. So generally when we don't get the data, in case with the global level declaration, if you don't get the data, what you will do in that case? So you can get that component level data and you can put it on the controller level. And to do that, you can actually put this dot get on component dot get model, and that value you can put inside the, that value you can put on the this dot get view dot set model. So that I can show you. Let me just run the application again. I remove the developer tools, and let me check if data is coming. Okay, well, currently our data is coming just fine, right? There is no need of changing anything. So this is working fine. In case if it doesn't work, in case, so I'm giving you a special function here that you can utilize. In case if it doesn't work, you can say that let o model is equal to this dot get owner component dot get model. You can pass the model name or bank details that you can copy from the manifest wherever we have given the model name. This is a model name. Model name should be correct, so make sure to copy paste it. Once you get the model, so we have checked on the developer tools that the model is coming, data is coming, so we can put this dot get view dot set model, and in the set model you can pass this o model because in let we have stored the model from component level. So if you will write only these two line of code, your model data would be available. To make it little bit more clear, I can write this dot get, or I can say set, or I can say underscore set global model. The same method I can create, set global model, right? So I can copy this. I can go at the end and put one comma, and I can put it here, set global model. This is an internal method. I can write a function definition. Inside the function, I can put those two line of code. I'll keep the set global model there. I'll remove these two lines and I'll put inside this internal method. So whenever we declare any method using underscore, that means it's an internal method that we have to be, which has to be there. So set global model. Now what will happen? Our on init function should be more cleaner. I mean, whatever we are doing here also, this method also we can change and we can keep a method and we can name it as set global I18 model or something like that. That would be a good practice. So our on init function would be much cleaner, right? Here, just one line of declaration of a method. It will automatically call this method, right? Whenever the code execution would come here. So earlier we put it as for I18. So what I will do for this one as well, debugger I will remove. And for this one, after this comment, I can put this dot underscore set language, set global language, right? This could be a method. That method we will call, and I'll copy this. And after this global method, I'll put one comma. I'll put set global language. Again, function declaration. Now inside this function, I will copy paste this whole code, and it would be executed whenever the set global language method would be called. So this is the way to write the standard JavaScript code. I mean, what will happen? It will make your code more cleaner. Whenever you come here, you can actually see there are only two methods, right? And you can put single line comments instead of double. Checking browser language and setting the global resource model, right? Here you can say that what this method is doing, it is setting global JSON model. But this should happen when the model is not there. I mean, if model is already there, then it should this thing should not be happen. I mean, this should not load the model again and again and again. So to do that, you can actually put a condition before setting the model to the view. What you can do, you can put one if condition that o if o model is there, right? Then if o model is there, right? Then if O model, okay, so model is there, O model dot get data, right? So if model data is there, then you don't do anything, right? You just put return. And else, what you do, you set the model as O model. Is this correct? No, no, no. If get data is there, if get data is there, you don't do anything. If it is not there, then also it will not set. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, right. This condition is actually not required here. Yes, it is not required. I tell you the reason why. Because if this condition we are putting when the model is not there, when the data is not displayed, then this should it should check, else it should not check. I mean, I'm just making you confused. Right now the data is coming, right? So we are putting these two lines, whether data is there or not, the data will be there all the time. If in case for you the model, when you declare the model, you don't have to declare it here again. That's what the objective is. But sometimes what happens, I have observed, after doing this global declaration, we don't get the data here. So in case if you don't get the data, you get it and set it like this in your controller level, right? So we are making our code more cleaner. Now we have our own in it, and we have only two methods here. So our code is more cleaner now. We have the comments, and so this is how it should look. So we are just making certain changes, and using these changes, what is happening? Our application is becoming more better. Now we will set one image here, which is required right now. So now we have to set an image here for our avatar control. Let me check where is our avatar. So avatar is inside a fragment, and the fragment name is bank details. Inside our fragment, we have the avatar control, we have the SRC, we have the display size, show border, right? Now this avatar we should display image here, and to do that, what we will do first, we'll create an image folder inside our web app folder. First, we'll create an image folder where we'll keep all the images which we are using locally. So I'll create a new folder, IMAGES images. Now my folder is created, I guess. Okay, this is the images folder, and what I will do, I'll upload the picture here. So I can probably put the picture of my uh, logo of my channel, and so it is there, but I have to rename it. I can rename it as profile.jpg, right? So I can, okay, my picture is coming. I have uploaded a picture in image. Now what we have to do in SRC, we have to put absolute binding path. We have to create a JSON model and we have to do it. So globally, we have declared one model, correct? Now what I will do, I will locally on controller level, I'll create a JSON. I'll create a JSON data again. And to do that, what I will say, I can say let O profile model is equal to new sap.ui.model.json model. This is the way to declare the model. And inside this method, this is standard method. Inside this method, we can directly create the data set. I mean, earlier we were using like setting data or something. Here I can use profile and I can directly pass the value. Now the value should be the path of our profile file, right? But we can't read the path directly. We have to use a method called sap.ui.require dot, let me check what it is, require dot to u url. I think all small, no, u is capital, to URL, and inside this we can actually pass the path of our image, which is profile. So if you want to give the path of image, you need to understand where you are right now. You are inside the app controller, which is this. So you have to jump through the web app. Then from web app, you have to come to the images. And to go to the web app, you can say the application, the name, you can get it from the controller level. And the name could be com.sap.mybank details. So I can copy, I can paste, because this is the web app folder path. Okay, let me make a little big. Web app folder path. Instead of dot, I'll put slash. This is the application namespace. Application namespace is the path of the web app folder. Always remember, application namespace is the path of the web app folder. So wherever you have to go to images, you have to first go to the web app folder. Correct. So that's why I have put web app folder path. Then I'll put slash and I'll put images slash what is the name of my image, and the name of my image is profile. So images is a folder and the name of my image is profile profile. Okay, now it is created. You see what I am doing here? I'm creating a profile model. I'm putting the data directly here. I mean, we could have created something like, sorry, not, I will never ever use this word. I hate this word because you remember I have a video where I'm explaining how to create a SAP ERP application, and I'm giving some introduction about the SAP cloud, right? And there I'm using word almost 50 times in a 10 minutes video. This is so embarrassing for me, but I'm improving slowly. You could have done it, let O data equal to like this, right? And this profile scenario, everything you could have, sorry, sorry, you could have put it here, and here it would be like JSON model, right? Earlier we have done it, right? That's why I'm just showing you that there are different ways of doing things. So whenever you do things smartly, you write less code, which is better, because here we have getting the extra OData variable declaration. There is a time and space complexity. I think you must be aware that when we declare any variable, when we do the declaration, this is the extra time complexity would improve. I think it's big O1 time complexity comes. So later I'll cover the tutorial of time complexity and the space complexity as well. So you could have done it as O profile model dot set data, and then you can pass the O data, right? This is the way, standard way, right? But what I'm doing, I'm not using two type of declaration, not using let variable declaration. I am directly using the key value pair, creating an object inside my JSON model and pasting it here, right? That's what I'm doing, right? So let me make it readable for you, okay? Which is also correct, right? So now uh, I have a single object, and this object has a property called profile, so I can read the profile directly once this model is declared on my view level. this dot get view dot set model, and I can put O profile model. Now this profile model is set to my view. So whatever the control I'm using on the app view, which control I'm using? I'm using the avatar control, and avatar control is where it is inside the fragment. Which fragment? Bank details. Where is bank details? Bank details is inside the app view. So here I can put the binding syntax, absolute binding path, and slash profile I can write. This is as simple. It's really simple. JSON model declaration, provided the data, use the sap.ui.require.to URL. Now let me run the application. URL given the path of the profile image, this dot get view dot set model, and setting the model, but image is not coming. This is a question. Why it is not coming? I think I have to give the profile, and then I have to give the extension as well after profile dot jpeg. You might ask where I'm getting this jpeg. If I can see my image, there's an extension called jpeg, and purposefully I didn't use it. I can say that. Okay, again I use the word. Sorry. So jpeg is the extension that I have to use, and my avatar image is loaded. I think now our application UI is looking much more good, but still there should be some improvements. I mean, there can be some improvements, and the improvements are I can remove this account details header part. It's because it is not required. Since it's the bank detail, you know it that this is the bank detail. You don't specifically say that it's account detail. Earlier we have displayed because we didn't have the card details. That's why we did it. So what I will do, I can go to my bank details fragment, and where it is, by the way, it is here, the header text. I will remove it. Okay, so whenever we do any changes, we have to comment it down. Header text removed as per the new requirement. I'm gonna assume if you are working on some enhancement by Naveen or whatever your user, you can put it here. Right. So always put a comment that the account details was removed. It was removed from the services. And I think we can okay, there is account details we removed, but we didn't put a comment. So I'm just giving you new ideas. Whenever you make any changes, you can put a comment. And now there is no header. Now it is stable, much more stable, correct? But I think still there is this. Can you see this scroll? This scroll thing should not come until and unless there is a list, a long list which is getting loaded. That should also come inside a specific. So this doesn't look good. So we have to do something. And what we can do is that we can put one special CSS class. I don't remember the class. I'll search it. And the class is something SAP UI. Sorry, not CA. SAP UI size compact. Yes, yes, I searched it right in the morning. Okay. So this is like cozy and compact. So if we want to see right now, this is a UI structure. We want to make it compact, which should look nicer. Right now, it is like big fat, and we want to make it slim and trim. And to do that, there is a special class. They haven't given the class name. Okay, SAP UI size compact. This class I will copy. And since I want it to happen for all the elements in my view, so instead of doing it on the fragment level, you can do it for the control level as well. I mean, you can put a class like this and you can copy paste it. So, but I want to do it for all the controls in my view. So better I declare this class on the view level instead of a particular controller. So I can check. So it has been compact, I guess. So instead of doing it on the avatar level, what I do, I open my view, actual view, the root view, and here I create where I do the library declaration. I do a class declaration here. Okay, I have done it twice. Cool. This is class. This is what it is. Now the entire UI size would be compact, and that scroll thing was coming right. As per my understanding, that should be removed. If it won't remove, still we'll do some changes. Now it is much more compact, right? The UI is looking much more better. Scroll thing is coming still it is there. Let's see if we have put any classes or something somewhere. I think on fragment level, let's check our fragments, bank details fragment. Do we have any class on? Okay, there is UI responsive margin class is there, which is okay. We can keep it. So let's check the car details fragment. Is there any class we have used? Okay, there is again a class is UI responsive margin, which is okay, which should be there. Okay, for bank details fragment is there. More details it is not required. Now still that scroll thing is coming, which is I think it is coming when we open this list item. So, but still, it looks more better now. At least the alignment is there, and so in our next video we will learn about the formatter because right now we are giving a the value that we want in the JSON file. If you can see the JSON file, if I can quickly show you, we are giving the string, right? But generally we don't receive the date in this format. We receive the date in a particular format. So that I want to display, that I want to tell you how to use the formatter. When we know expression binding nicely, we don't have to use the formatter generally. I tell you why, because in car details, we have used the complex expression binding like this. If we don't know how to use the complex expression binding, we have to use the formatter just to do uppercase. Or, of course, there is the use of formatter because formatter can do much better things, and these expression binding syntax are limited. But if it is just a small, just a if else true false condition, for that expression binding is good. And if you have to make certain changes, have to write some business logic for formatting the value, that time formatter are absolutely useful. So right now our work is almost done. I think I can push the code. This is what bending. I'm so sorry if I'm taking too much time. I have to push the code. That's what I believe. So let me open the terminal and let me open a new terminal. Okay. Yeah, here it is, the new terminal. CD my bank for details. So let me go to my GitHub account where it is. Okay, I can open GitHub, GitHub, tools, my bank details. Okay, GitHub tech tools. Okay. One more thing is that I have changed my main branch. I mean, earlier it was master. So GitHub has made it compulsory that you give your root branch as name as main. You can't give the master now because earlier when I tried to push the code, right, it didn't happen. It didn't work that time. So right now we have a main branch and we have three different branches. So as we are doing since a long time, we'll push this code. This is latest code. This is the name as JSON binding. So I'll push this code, and to push this, you have to write what you have to write. I think I remember. I guess I remember. And I today I put a note of it, so I can say that first thing is git init. Now repository initialized. I can say git add dot all the files are added. Right now I can say git branch capital M, I think hyphen capital M for the branch creation, and the branch name should be JSON underscore binding. So you will understand that we have covered the JSON and the binding part here. And then a new branch would be created. Now git commit hyphen M, and I can give it a commit as JSON all binding explanation. Okay, this is my commit. Now code is committed. Now code needs to be pushed. Git push hyphen u. For push we use hyphen u, and I can give origin hyphen main. I think we didn't use origin hyphen. I think sorry, origin slash is not required. Origin, and I can give the master branch name which is main. Right. So now see, this was the problem I was getting, and I'm so thankful that we are getting this problem because if you get this, you have to resolve this problem. And I was able to resolve it successfully for another branch. So, okay. Instead of pushing it to main branch, what I do is that I can push it to the newly created branch, and the newly created branch name was JSON underscore binding. Okay. So instead of origin, I just put JSON underscore binding. Title does not appear in the GitHub repository. Oh God. So I can put here ORIGIN, origin JSON binding. Oh wow, thank God. मैं क्या बोल like I don't know. Okay guys, one more thing. Let me know if you want to learn SAP UFI in Hindi because I'm tired of speaking English and I don't see my followers coming from USA or New Zealand or Germany. I had this in my mind earlier that I will get many followers from Germany and USA, but I think they are they will laugh at my English. So I'm planning to prepare a course in Hindi, and Hindi would be much more fun, I promise. So one of my follower, I mean not follower, the subscriber, uh, I won't call her name here, but she told me in a comment that please prepare or make a video on binding and JSON, and so that's the reason I have created this long video. So now we have pushed the code to JSON binding. So I think okay. So here we have to compare and pull also, right? So so main branch would be, so just click on the create pull request. Just see what I'm doing here. It is checking merge pull request and it is confirm merge. So our main branch is merged with the latest code. This is what we want. So we can check main branch is selected. What we created today, we created a lot of things, right? You can go to the controller. You can go to the app controller. Okay, this we have put in a method like this, right? Why we are keeping it like this? So since we are here, we can do that, right? And we can push it again. Is it a problem? I think it won't be a problem for anybody, I guess, because we all are here to learn. So I remove this, I remove this, and I remove this. And I say that what we were doing using this profile. So this dot get user PROFILE, get user profile, right? This method is nice. And I think about this we can put this get user profile. So okay, and I can copy get user profile and get user profile function declaration, right? So how I'm doing this, right? You can also do that. I mean, it's actually not that difficult. I think you understood, right? I created a function declaration and I put the code inside it. I save it, and here I say that get the user profile. So right now we are just working on the client side. If there is a service that we can use, so whoever is the current user, you can fetch his details, but still you have to use it. I mean, assume if you are getting the data in model also in OData model to put it as this. I mean, how would you do that? Just assume right now you are uploading the photo or the picture here and you are getting the data. Okay, let me check if okay application is working fine, thankfully. So how would you do that? So in SRC, you can directly bind the value because from backend, when you will receive the value, you won't receive the JSON file, sorry, JPG file. You will receive a image code. That code you can directly bind with the property, and the image would be loaded automatically. Because in the server side, it's actually very simple. You don't have to write this code to get the user profile. I think we are done for today. Let's do a recap what all things we learned. We learned about JSON model. We know the definition of it. We have used these methods. I hope you remember. Declaration, we know. We have done declaration several times. We know that there is no built-in support because we didn't send any data to server. We know what is binding, what is the definition of binding, right? If you have a pen and paper, write it down. And we know what is property binding. Now we know what is element binding. Now don't say that I haven't covered the property binding and element binding here because I have covered it in just the previous video. And we have covered the aggregation binding. We have covered the expression binding here specifically. Now you know the absolute binding path, relative binding path, right? Absolute binding path means property binding. Relative binding path means element binding, aggregation binding. and expression binding is completely different. Okay, so we learned about JSON model, we learned about property binding, element binding, aggregation binding, expression binding. Okay, I think we are done for today. I think it's midnight, 2:57. I think I should sleep now. And thank you so much for your participation. If you like this video, please subscribe the channel, like the video, or comment down and let me know if you want to learn SAP UI in Hindi. Thank you so much, guys.